So we saw what's a list. List is simply put some numbers here or any other string as you want, and this creates a list. Length of list, it shows you the list, and you can append something onto the list. Okay, and yeah, you have 5 here. You just appended 5 here, right? So you can even change the value of, let's say, L of 3. What is L of 3? L of 3 is 4. You can say L of 3 equals 100, and that gets changed. You see, but the set, as you know, set was, what was the set? 1, 2, 7, 8, 10, let's say, and S did not have this facility, correct? You could not index S, right? So I told you that there are differences between L and S. You observed that you can find out an element in S, you can also find out an element in L, but this works really fast. If the size is over 1 billion, right, this is super duper fast. Now let's go ahead and discuss something that is slightly complex at the level of a computer, but is actually easy on your mind. Okay, it's called the dictionary data structure, and trust me, this is going to be slightly difficult on your minds to begin with. Although I say it's easy, but it takes some time for this concept to become easy on your mind. So stay patient. As and always, only when we demonstrate the usage of a concept will you really realize that, oh yeah, now I understand why this is used. Okay, so I will tell you the idea behind this concept called dictionaries, and then put that to use. That will make it very clear to you people. So if I say D is equal to, simply open and close bracket, it becomes a dictionary. Alright, when you include single numbers like this, it becomes a set, but when you only start and end an empty bracket like this, it becomes a dictionary. And you can say D of anything you want, let's say Sudarshan, is equal to my, let's say, phone number 98989898 12345 12345. Perfect. So this is actually not my phone number, don't give me a ring, this is just an example. Okay, so D of, let's say, someone else by name Ramya, and her phone number, let's say, is so much 12345 12345. Okay, so and then Ravi, his phone number happens to be, okay, 12345 6789. Let me put a 9 here and make it a 10-digit number. Alright, okay, this takes values like this, and when you print D, it shows like this. Okay, and whenever you want to find out the value of any entry here, you simply put D and in bracket you put that, and you will get the value here. Is that clear? So do you remember how a list works? I had created a list L here. List simply contains entries like this. Alright, if you say L of 0, it will show you the first element. But here, in case of a dictionary, alright, if you say D of 0, it simply doesn't know what to do. It will go and see if 1 is present in D. Okay, you can only put D, big bracket. Okay, inside this bracket you must specify whatever you have here, let's say Ramya. Okay, if you put something that is not present, you only have Sudarshan, Ramya and Ravi here. If you, let's say, put IIT here, it will throw an error saying there is nothing like that here, right? Key error IIT, that is not available. Okay, alright, so of what use will this be, right? Of what use is this D here, which you created by saying D is equal to, right, so much, and then you said D of something. What was that? What was that? D of Ravi equals so much, D of Ramya equals so much, D of Sudarshan equals so much. You created it, and finally you had your D, which is this, right? Of what use is this facility, right? I mean, sounds like a very useless facility in Python. I don't see an immediate use for this. But remember from your computational thinking course, there was extensive discussion on dictionaries. If I can remind you, Professor Madhavan in fact tries to take the example of the bills in a shop, in a supermarket, and then tries to take the sequence number, rather the bill number, and then figures out what all transactions were done. In fact, he explains what's a table and then creates a dictionary of entries. Correct? So if I sound jargonic, please go back and then watch your computational thinking part of the dictionary discussion in that course. But for the time being, I will now open the video of Professor Madhavan, which I have kept it ready right now, just so that I was actually wondering from where to introduce dictionaries to you people, and I was very happy that it was discussed in the computational thinking course. Right? I'm going to particularly take this example that's discussed here. Okay? It says, it was a Monday morning. Swaminathan was reluctant to open his eyes. He considered Monday especially unpleasant in the calendar. After the delicious freedom of Saturday and Sunday, it was difficult to get into the Monday mood of work and discipline. He shuddered at the very thought of school, that dismal yellow building, the fire-eyed Vedanayagam, his class teacher, and the headmaster with his thin, long cane. Right, a wonderful work by R.K. Narayan. If you didn't know, this is a pic from Malgudi Days, Swami and Friends. If you don't know what that is, you probably should read the story. Better even watch the series. It was made in the 1980s, a very popular serial it was. It's probably available online right now. Anyway, details aside, I felt good reading it like a English lesson. In fact, if I remember it right, we had this lesson in one of our in our college days, if I remember it right. All right, so cut the crap. So let's look at what is being told here. Here, Professor Madhavan very nicely explains how you can find out the most frequently occurring word. All right, so it occurs twice, he says, because it is here, it is also here. Okay, was appears thrice. Was is here, where else is was? One here, and maybe there's one more. Where is it? Did I miss it? So let me go through it slowly. Was, two was, and there are three was. Very thought of school, that dismal yellow building, the fire-eyed program, his class teacher, and the headmaster with his thin long cane. Why is was repeated thrice? Present the calendar of the delicious freedom of Saturday and Sunday. It was difficult. Here it is. So you see, I purposefully did this exercise because I don't want to cut this part where I stumbled to see where is was. That is how humans count. That's how humans compute. And that is why you need a computer, right? I mean, even if it's a long text, I would not. In fact, it will get complex for my naked eye to figure out how many times a word is repeated in a small text as small as this. Imagine it was several bytes of data with over thousands of words, some 100,000 words, right? How will you figure out the repetition, how many times a word is repeated, right? So you need a computer, and Professor Madhavan nicely explains how you can write a piece of code and figure out the max frequently occurring word. In fact, you see the word is actually the here, but the program, if you remember it right, displays the frequency, max frequency. All right. If I'm sounding Greek and Latin, you probably should go to YouTube and search for this lesson, watch it, and then come back. All right. Now, how do I code this? How do I code this on a computer? This very problem. Right? And for that, I have it prepared. In fact, in Malgudi, you must be thinking, what magic is this? How could he get this the moment he typed Malgudi? It's not a built-in entity in Python. I stored these words in a list called Malgudi. Okay, so what does Malgudi have? Malgudi is a list where the 0th element is it, and the first element is was. In fact, you can print the entire list. If you say print Malgudi, it prints the entire list like this, one next to the other, right? So it was Monday morning. Swaminathan was reluctant to open his eyes. He considered Monday, etc., etc. I have removed all the dots, commas, and punctuations and things like that. And even these 3 dots here, 4 dots here, I have removed. I have made it only words so that it's easy for me to search through. All right. So how will I search through the words here? Is there an easy way? Let me see. So, all this while I was using a list. Whenever I use list of numbers like this, okay, I would say for I in range len of L, print I would print the numbers like this, correct? So there's another way of doing this. You can always say for X or I or whatever, X in L, print X. This is very easy. Now that I introduce sets to you, sets, the word in there is used for belongingness. But here, when I say for X in L, I mean go through every element of L through this for loop. And then whatever you give here, that X variable will come and sit here and it will print you give you the values of value of that particular variable, right? So for I in range len of L, print I. This is also fine. I'm sorry, what am I doing here? I should not print I. I'm very, very sorry. There's a small mistake here. I should say for I in range len of L, you say print L of I. That prints the value of L, values of L. This was just printing I, you see. For I in range len of L will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So print from 0 to 5. So it will be printing 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So it should rather print L of I. This is same as saying for X in L, print X. Okay? A quick tip for you guys. From now onwards, we'll try using this as it's easy on your minds. Alright, so now Malgudi has so many words. How many words does Malgudi have? Len of Malgudi. Oh, it has 66 words. However, there could be repetitions. Right? Very good. So we know sets, right? So I can say S equals set of Malgudi. Now repetitions will be gone, you see. Print S. All repetitions are gone right now in flower brackets. But if you print Malgudi, you will get everything with repetitions. As you can see, my word was, which I stumbled, you see, was is repeated twice here, but was is somewhere once only displayed here, and I need to find that. Let me find where is was here. Oh my god, you see how difficult is searching manually. Was is here, right? Okay, so what is the story so far? The story so far is you create a list like this, you display it. You can do it like this, or you can also do it like this. Tip, that's all. This entire circus here was just a small tip that instead of doing, I'm sorry, not this, this was a mistake. Instead of writing this code, you can instead write this code. I hope it's clear for you. If it's not clear, pause and try to write this code. And write this code, you will realize they both do the same thing. Okay, story so far. I had written a list containing all the words that Professor Madhavan discussed in computational thinking course in one of his lessons. He quoted this paragraph to find out the most frequently occurring word, and it's basically the frequency, not exactly the word, but he was interested to find out the frequency of the occurrence of a word to its max. It turned out to be the, and it was 6. I have now created a list manually. I created Malgudi is equal to it, and then appended was, appended Monday, appended morning. It was manually done. Right? Believe in me. If you suspect, then so you are right. In fact, I wrote a small piece of code where I could remove all the unwanted stuff and then keep these things. Anyway, that's out of the scope of our discussion right now, so I'm not going to discuss that. We still have some problems here, namely school colon. We should fix that. But anyways, don't worry. Let us go ahead right now and then see that Malgudi has as length of Malgudi is 66. If you make it a set, it becomes smaller. Okay, so what is the length of S here? It is 50. but length of Malgudi is 66. So far so good. You understand Malgudi is displayed here. Let me not display it once again. Malgudi is simply this, while S is this. Okay. There are a couple of problems here, as I just now saw. You have school colon. Let me make it school so that there are no mistakes. How do I do that? Malgudi of what is that? 10 is eyes. Where is eyes? Maybe what word is school here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Roughly some 30, I guess. Let me just check. What is Malgudi of 30? It is 2. Malgudi of 31 is get. Where is get? Okay. So there is a nice way to do this. Let me use function here. I can always remove and then append. No, that may not be a good idea. So let me just figure out. If this is 31, get is 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47 is school. Okay, 47 is school. Yeah, that's right. So I'll just say 47 is equal to school. And just so that I remove this. Anyway, I don't want to edit this part where I want you people to understand that you can also do something like this. When you cleanse the data, you tend to have such errors, but you can sometimes manually fix, or in fact write another piece of code to fix this. That's not going to be difficult. This is 47, 48, 49, 50, 51. So Malgudi of 51, it says building colon. I want to make it simply building. Okay. Any other place that requires any change? Looks like we are through. Right? There is no problem. Now let me print Malgudi, and yeah, I get clean data. I'm sorry for this. That was a oversight error. I didn't know how this colon and semicolon popped in here, but we have fixed that right now. So Malgudi is so much. S equals set of Malgudi. Okay, the same old thing. Length of S will be so much. Length of Malgudi is so much. Now, slowly look at the magic that's going to happen. One reason why I like Python is the way you code is the way you speak in English. Now, what do I mean by that? By that I mean, if I said for x in Malgudi, print x. What does this mean? It means for all values x in Malgudi, you simply print those values. Right? It prints all those values. Easy in the mind? Right? So now what I will do is I'll create a dictionary. Alright? Okay? I'll create a dictionary. Let me increase the font so that it's easy on your eyes. Let me create a dictionary, and for all the values, okay, in S. Why S? Because there could be repetitions here. Okay, so S is what? S is same as Malgudi, but repetitions removed. Okay, for x in S, I'll say d of x is equal to 0. What do I mean by this? This is a dictionary, as you know. It will take x in S. What was S? Remember, S was all the words. Note, you have to open your terminal and code with me. If you don't code with me, if you are not coding already, things are going to get slightly complicated. You will not be able to appreciate magic. Magic will be understandable if you are coding with me, otherwise magic will remain mysterious. You will not understand what I am doing. Right? So I say print S, you get this set. All these are non-repeated words from your Malgudi list. From this list. Okay? Very good. So when I say for x in S, it goes through all values of S, these words, and then creates a dictionary with that word followed by 0. Let me print D and C. You see? You remember? I typed Sudarshan, Ramya, Ravi and put phone numbers. by using colon there. So it says and is 0, specially is 0, 2 is 0, after is 0, freedom is 0, difficulty is 0, so on and so forth. Now when I say D of get within quotes, it will see where is get here. Get is somewhere here, right? Here it will give me the value. Anyway, every value is 0, so it's going to say 0 here. But then pause for a second and observe this code. For X in Malgudi means what? The actual text, this text. I'm going through it one by one. What I do is D of X is equal to, okay, it was 0. Now I say D of X equals whatever D of X was, add 1 to it. What do you mean by this? By this you mean, if for X in Malgudi, for a word in this list, as you go from it was Monday morning Swaminathan, you go to D of that word, D of it, and what was D of it? D of it should be somewhere here, right? It gets difficult to search the words here. You see, D of it is 0 here. So D of it will be whatever D of it was, 0 plus 1. So D of it will actually become 1 here when you do this. And that is true for all words. Was will become 1. Okay. But then the second time you see was, here it will make was as 2. Okay. Pause for a second. Think what I am doing here. Pretty straightforward English statement written as a 2-line Python code. I say enter here and you will see print D. You have what? The number of occurrences of and, especially, to, after, freedom, difficult, shuddered, was, has come thrice. You see, I was stumbling to find out how many times was repeated. Off is again thrice. Headmaster comes once, cane comes once, discipline comes once, okay, so on. His comes 3. Let's do one thing. Let's go to Professor Madhavan's lecture and try to figure out if it's the same. Okay, so his is actually, it is showing us 3, but here it says 2. I don't know why. Let's see. Maybe there's some mistake here, or mistake from our side, or from this. Is his only once here? D of X equals, our code cannot be wrong. So let's see where the problem is. D of his is, I observed just now randomly that D of his is turning out to be 3. Correct? So in Malgudi, let's say how many times his has come. Okay, so this is easy. Once, twice, thrice. It has come thrice. But it was Monday morning. Swaminathan was reluctant to open his eyes once. He considered Monday especially unpleasant after the delicious, etc. It was Monday mood of work. He shuddered the very thought of school. That maybe the words used here and the words that I have used are probably different. Okay, so let me just cross check that. Print Malgudi. Okay, it was Monday morning. Swaminathan was reluctant to open his eyes. It was Monday morning. Swaminathan was reluctant to open his eyes. He considered Monday especially unpleasant in the calendar after the delicious freedom of Saturday and Sunday. It was difficult to get into the Monday mood of work and discipline. He shuddered at the very thought of school. The dismal yellow building, the fire-eyed Vedanayagam, his class teacher. Yeah, there is thrice. In fact, there is his here, and his here. You know, it should be 3. I wonder why there is 2 here. Probably it was a mistake here and not with our code. You see, that's the advantage of, you know, writing a piece of code. Of course, in making this PowerPoint, it was not easy manually for the person who did this PowerPoint to not have seen this error. Anyway, never mind. We all make mistakes. I make so many mistakes when I type or type my piece of code. Never mind. So our code is perfect. We observe that his indeed appears thrice, and as you observe, this very thing we created here, which is here. Correct? And now you may want to tell me what is the most frequently occurring word here? It is the. Correct? But then how do you find that out? Correct? It's not easy to find that out. How will you find that out? Let us write the same code that computational thinking course taught you. Whatever was the pseudo code that was taught in this course, I am going to try writing the same old program here and try to figure out whether I can find out the max frequently occurring word. Are you finding it complicated? Are you finding it not so easy on your mind? Don't worry at all. The best way to learn is to restart the video. See it once again. I think this particular video you may want to watch it thrice or even 4 times for you to make sense. If you have not understood dictionary before, if it's the first time you are observing what is a dictionary, you may want to see this video a couple of times more. Certainly one pass you will not understand anything. So where were we? We need to figure out what is the max frequently occurring word. So how do we do that? Right? So what I'll do is I'll say max equals 0. In fact, you can write a piece of code on the editor too, but I will do it on the console like this. Okay, max equals 0 for x in Malgudi. Okay, so we should probably redo that dictionary, right? Dictionary, I should start from the beginning, correct? Why? Because I have put all the values here. Now I'll read the entire code from the beginning so that you understand what is what. Okay, so d equals so much for x in S, every single word in this Malgudi, where I have removed the repetitions and created a set instead. You see the application of list and a set. If this was too big a list, going through every single word and even the repetitions doesn't make sense. You see, because you need to include the word only once. Correct? I initialize my dictionary. So as you can see, every single word comes and it says 0, 0, 0, 0. Because I have not gone through every single word and counted them, how many times they occur. Now I am going to do that. Look at this. I'll go slowly here. Max is 0. Dictionary initiated. Alright. Dictionary values are appended to the dictionary. And I count, the first one will be the word, second one will be the number of occurrence of that word. Okay. Now I must find which word is most frequently occurring. So what I'll do is for x in Malgudi, I'll go through every single word here. Okay. So if d of d of x equals d of x plus 1, correct? So I increment the occurrence of that word. For instance, I see it here as I explained earlier, so it will be 1 occurrence or 2 occurrence or 3. It will get incremented by 1 here. See, it's case sensitive. This, it is different from this set. Okay, so I am assuming that, right? So small letter it is different from capital letter it. So it will become 1 right now. Okay, and then was will become 1. When was is encountered twice, it becomes twice, and so on and so forth. So then what I will do is I will say here, watch carefully, if d of x, whatever you saw here, was greater than max, okay, then what you do is max equals d of x. Why? Why would you do that? That's because if your d of x is greater than the maximum number seen so far, then you declare that as the maximum value. That's all. Stare at this for a minute, write this down on a sheet of paper and observe what we are doing. In plain English, all I'm saying is go through all values in this list Malgudi one at a time from left to right. Slowly, it was Monday morning. Each word you go through, for every word what you do is you increment the dictionary by 1. D of x will be 1. If it's 0, that value becomes 1. It becomes 1. If it encountered once, if it's encountered twice, it becomes 2, and so on and so forth here. As you're looping through this for loop, it also checks if any of this is greater than the max known so far. Okay, that's what is being taught here. If you remember, in single iteration, in this iteration itself, I'm finishing it. This will not make sense to you if you have not watched this video. So watch this video first, please. All right. So, and then I do this and I say enter and I come out of this and boom, print D. You will get the updated values. All right. And then print. What am I going to type now? Max. You will get the max value too, which is 6 here. Correct? We're wondering, sir, why is it saying 6? I also want the exact word too. No, that is not what we are doing. We only want to display the max element. That's what even this lecture talks about. But let's go one step ahead and try to figure out if we can actually display the word as well. So how do we do that? Let me start from beginning once again. Let me initialize D. What did I do? What did I do here? I initialize D and I initialize the values to 0. Okay. So for x in S, D of x is equal to 0. And after that, my max was initialized to 0 as well. And then this for loop happened. Okay. So what I'm going to now do is the answer word. Okay. I'm going to initialize. This will have the answer right now. Okay. So I'll say for x in Malgudi, let me scroll up. Okay, this very code I'm going to rewrite it. Okay, d of x is equal to d of x plus 1 if d of x is greater than max, then max equals d of x and your answer word is equal to the value x. Right? I store this and every time max gets changed, answer word is also getting changed. Plain English, think about it. This looks very complicated. This looks like kind of a language that you have never encountered so far. But bear with me, things will get easier as you keep practicing it. Okay. So I say enter here, and then I'll print D. Wow, good, updated. I'll print X. I'll print max. I'll get 6. Now what's the word? I'll print answer word. The word is the. Alright, now again pause here if you haven't understood, but if you have understood, let me actually show you the magic here. You know what I have done? I have taken not just this Malgudi file here with all these words, okay? I have taken the whole of Sherlock Holmes as a list. Did you observe that? The moment I said Sherlock, this came. Don't try to type it on your terminal, you will not get it. I wrote a small script to gather all the words and put them as a list here. Right? If you want, I can send you this list of words. Maybe I'll post it on the forum, or you can do it all by yourself. You can take a big list of words of your choice. Okay? So Sherlock Holmes, the entire work is available by Arthur Conan Doyle. You can take it from there. It's a plain text file and then create this list. What is the length of Sherlock? It is close to 100,000. That's why I was referring to 100,000 in the beginning of this lecture. So it has 100,000 words, a little more than 100,000 words. And how big was your Malgudi? Around 66. Okay, very, very small. Now for Sherlock, what I'll do is I'll run the same code for Sherlock. What's the code? I cannot scroll up like this, right? So I'll try to figure out what is the max frequently occurring words in Sherlock. Okay, so you know how to print. Let me show you something. For x in Sherlock, all words in Sherlock, we'll say print x. I think if I put a comma here, it will show one word next to the other. It's not showing. I think you should say end equals this. Yes. So it is showing all the words one next to the other. Maybe you can try to show it by this is the problem of taking a big file. If you want to stop it, it will take a few seconds. If you want to abort it, it will take a few minutes. So if you put a space here, I think it will show you one word. It's the perfect. Yeah. So this is the entire novel. Let us go through it, read it. You probably should be a robot to read it at this pace. Alright, anyways, it goes on and on. It's a very, very, very big novel. You did not see the entire novel actually. To go through all the 100,000 words, it actually, if you even spend a microsecond per word, it's going to take a long time to finish it. Okay. Microsecond a word, what am I saying? Microsecond is 10 to the power of minus 6. It'll probably, it's of that order, correct. So it'll probably take a second if you can read one word in a microsecond, but of course you can only read 3-4 words in a second, which means reading this entire thing will take a few days, maybe even close to a month. I don't know, my estimation could be wrong, you can estimate it, but it's a long time. Right? Okay, so you have Sherlock as a list, correct? I displayed it. Now let me go through the whole of the Sherlock document just the way I did for Malgudi and try to figure out what's the most frequently occurring word here. Same old process. What was that? Let me remember the code. D equals open bracket, close bracket. Obviously my computer will be a little slow here because I have put a lot of stuff in my memory. It will cry a little, don't mind. And then what I should do is again initialize max to 0. Okay, and then answer a word, whatever the previous thing, I should initialize that. This is not required actually. You can directly assign it there if you know what I mean. If you don't know what I mean, don't break your head. Okay, so what I should do now is for x in Sherlock, okay, d of x is equal to 0. So what am I doing here? I'm initializing the dictionary first. Let me do this. So print D. Here is all the words in Sherlock novel. You see, I'm getting a little tensed. That's because it's a huge file, right? I mean, although the code will be exactly the same, I'm a little tensed whether it will really work for this bigger code. So you observed that I have initialized my dictionary. So what should I do next? I have initialized max, is it? I have initialized max already. So what I should do is for x in D. What was that? For x in I'm sorry. For x in Sherlock, right? Sherlock, okay, for all the values in this list Sherlock, okay, what you do is look at the word x in Sherlock as you go through all words of Sherlock and then increment it by 1, thus telling me the total number of occurrences of individual words. You see Michael here, how many times did it occur? Okay, the word computers, how many times did it occur? Right? Okay, so okay, then same old code. Why am I struggling? I mean, it's the same code. So d of x equals d of x plus 1, and then what I should do is max. Yeah. So if d of x is greater than max, then your max will be d of x. Okay, and your answer word, what was that? Answer, I guess. Answer will actually be equal to your x. Okay. Enter, another enter. This will now boom over all 100,000 words it saw in a fraction of a second. That's the advantage of Python. It's very, very fast when it comes to word processing. In fact, you can take big files, the whole of Twitter data, if you take and try to do similar operation on it, it does it really fast. It's optimized to do it. I can say all these things provided the answer is right. Let me see. What is print max? Some word is repeated 5431 times. What is that word? Let me print the dictionary. See, all these words are repeated once, twice, thrice, 7 times. But some word is repeated. One word is repeated many times. Okay, what's that word? Let me see. How do we see that? The word ans would have captured it. It is the word the. So, the seems to be the most frequently occurring word in English, I believe, because when we took this small passage, the was the most frequently occurring word here in your previous course. In this course, we tried doing the same operation, same piece of code on a huge file. still the seems to be the most frequently occurring word. With this, I conclude the idea of a dictionary. I just now introduced what's a dictionary, what's a list, this should be, and what's a set. This should be enough to begin with. There is a small concept called a tuple, which I'll explain next in a short video. But apart from that, the idea of a list, a set, and a dictionary is a very important one in Python. Alright, you will use lists a lot, you will use dictionaries a lot. You just saw the power of dictionaries. Whatever we did was a good application of dictionary. In fact, most of the graphs that you learnt in computational thinking can be achieved using dictionary. Alright, I'll show you a small illustration of what all you can do with a dictionary. Let me clear the screen. Let me also clear the cache so that everything goes away, so that my terminal is faster than otherwise. So what shall we do? Let me create a new dictionary, D, and then let's say D of Sudarshan is equal to my marks in physics, chemistry, and mathematics. 93, mathematics was 99, and chemistry was 95. Okay, so at least in virtual world, I mean unreal world, let me bloat on my marks, although this is not the marks that I ever secured. Alright, so Sudarshan has secured so much, and let's say Ajit has secured, if you capitalize this, you should retain the capitalization throughout. Okay, I'm not capitalizing it for the sake of simplicity. Alright, he has secured 74, 63 and 82. Obviously everyone else should have secured less than me, because I want to be the first ranker in the class. Okay, so D, let's say Supriya has secured, okay, 81, 66, 80. Let's say 90. Okay. Alright. Now, when you display D, it will show you like this. And if you want to know what is Sudarshan's marks, so this is physics, chemistry, mathematics, PCM. I think I said PMC, but anyways, let's retain this as, let's call it physics, chemistry, and mathematics. Right? Sudarshan's marks will be displayed like this, but then D of this is actually a list. You see, this is a list, correct? So you can simply say D of Sudarshan of 0, that will be my physics marks, of 1, that will be my chemistry marks, of 2, that will be my mathematics marks, right? So you can go through these values by simply calling D of Sudarshan. In fact, in the previous case where we saw the Sherlock example, this was simply the number of occurrences of the word so much. But right now I'm saying this is the mark secured by Sudarshan. Alright, you can make it one level more complicated. Let me show you. And then include more details. You see, you can always say D of Sudarshan is equal to, it is of course the marks 93, 99 and 95, and the last entry will be his email address, right, in quotes because it's a string, right, his email address. Okay, perfect. And you can do that for the others too. Let's say Ajit's email address, let's say Ajit Rao at some gmail.com, etc, etc. Okay, some number at gmail.com. Of course this is not his email, it's fictitious. So yeah, perfect. And I can say Supriya is equal to her marks 81, 66, 90, Supriya, let's say Supriya HS78912221 gmail.com is her email address. Now when I say D of Supriya of 1, I should get 66, correct? I will get 66 here. Sorry. Perfect. This should give me 66. Yes, this is giving me 66. And if I said 30123 should be her email address. You see, it should be her email address. And it does precisely that. And you know, you can put a big list here, as big as you want. Okay, you can say D of Sherlock and put all the words in Sherlock, and put D of Arkinarayan and put all the words in his novel. Or the sky is the limit. Okay, you can go on and on. In fact, D of this can be another dictionary here itself. Yet another dictionary by using a flower bracket here. Sounds complicated? Don't break your head. All that you need to know right now, again I repeat, summary, the story so far is, you know what's a list, you know what's a set, you have seen an application of dictionary with this example. Alright, if you know this much, that is more than enough to begin with. The rest comes next. You must learn the bare minimum entities and go one top up at a time in understanding what is what. Unless you encounter a situation where you require where there is this dire requirement of dictionaries or whatever we have taught, until then you will not understand what is what. Right? So watch this video a couple of times. It's not easy on the for the first time. Code along as I'm coding, and you will be able to understand the code completely. There's nothing complicated in what we did so far. So now with this I am ending my part of this week's lectures. On to Mr. Omkar, who will try to write more code, in fact show you some nice aspects of dictionary, quite a follow-up of your computational thinking class, and also more to do with tuples. I'll explain it to you in the next video in a couple of minutes, but otherwise we are done for this week from my side. On to Omkar.